Drew, welcome to the Way of Champions podcast. We went back and forth a couple times. I screwed up the schedule once, and so we finally got you here. We caught you at the end of a long work day working with some clients, but thanks so much for making the time and coming on.
It's a great pleasure, John. And today is one of my corporate commitments in London. So I tend to do two afternoons a week here, or 2 days a week.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you here. I know a lot of people in the UK who follow your work and probably followed your career as a professional footballer or soccer player. But maybe, we have a big US audience. So maybe can you just give people a little bit of your background, over 500 professional appearances, I think 20 teams. Just talk about your career, because obviously that's the platform that everything you do today is built off of.
Yeah, I had an average career at best. When you hear the statistics of, I think it's any player that enters in a youth academy at the age of 8, I think it's 0.1% are left at 19, 20. So
yeah,
I think the average career is 5 years, but because you're always measuring yourself against the best guys in the world, for me, anything other than being at that summit of the mountain was a failure. So I look at my career as a complete failure. And that's okay for me. People like to jump in and go, no, it wasn't. But for me, it was underlived, underperformed. A career which, yes, spanned 17 years in the pro game, but was just spent searching for the player that I was, searching for the player that I knew was in me, which I think I probably found about 5% of that time. Probably that player turned up, and then all bets were off. Anything was possible. So, 33, ended up emotionally pretty beaten up. I think looking back, emotionally really devoid. I think completely detached from myself, and pretty broken. Marriage broke down, and I went into a rehab centre, and it was rough. But 12 years on, it was the basis of everything that I've done for the last decade or so.
Yeah.
That journey of deep discovery.
Right. And I think, what I've enjoyed about your work that I crossed paths with was this sort of vulnerability of, and this self-reflection that I think so many people never do, of, okay, what could I have been? Let me take a deep dive into the things that were the obstacles to me reaching my potential, and then let me be a voice for people who are facing those same obstacles. Now, obviously in profession, the percentage, like you said, less than 1% that become a professional athlete and get a career out of it. And so, yes, you're a 1%er, but in your own mind, that still wasn't good enough, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that's okay. I think there's a big movement today which really saddens me, but I understand it. It's trying to rescue young people, young players from that suffering. It's like, well, the minute we hear anything that you're going through, we're going to quote Brenny Brown, who I love her work, throw a sandwich down the hole. It's like, quick, have a sandwich. You're okay down there, rather than, no, what are you suffering with? Well, I'm nowhere near my best level, and it's destroying me. I'm not sleeping, I've got anxiety, and I would lead that back with, good, you're exactly where you need to be.
Yeah.
Suffering deeply, because what's the suffering? It's like, well, the suffering is I'm capable of higher levels than this. Let's go into that then. Why? How? What's going on? So that was my journey, that level of discovery. I've realised about myself, I deeply know who I am. I think there's two things that make me up. One, I'm very sensitive, very emotionally aware, I think, naturally. But I'm also one of the alpha male, most driven guys in the room, which was really confusing for me, and I think a lot of my coaches. I think because I was the alpha male, you can throw anything at him. He can deal with anything. I was a physical machine. I was fit and resting heart rate. I could get down to 30 beats a minute off season. Training at altitude, searching for the 1% all the time. So I had that alpha, and I still had that drive, which I think people relate to. But then I'm going, but I'm also deeply afraid of failing,
Yeah.
constantly attached to mind, not able to get out of thought. So, yeah, I think that combination has enabled me to be a really good coach, but was hell as an athlete because you're feeling everything, yet you're ready to run into fire all the time. So, which one are you?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
crying. I'm crying with the kids at Lion King and Moana, and then no problem having concussions. And that's not a no. I could take concussion every day. That's no issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm
What's
still going to.
interesting? Sorry,
Yeah.
I interrupted. Go
No,
ahead.
no, please.
No, I mean, I just think that whole thing, the Brene Brown throw a sandwich down, like this is, I would agree with you 100% that we are failing today's children because every time, as parents, right? And I know you're a parent and I have two teenagers and our natural instinct, right, from the moment our child is born is to protect them. And yet as they get older, it's that ability to let go and say what's good about this, right? And then not protect them from the discomfort, the suffering, the difficulty, the adversity, but help them see the good of it, right? And this is where we're failing, I think, as parents, and I think we're failing sometimes as coaches. And I want to get into this a little bit more, but instead of throwing them a sandwich, or instead of just saying, suck it up, Patsy, right? That's the teachable moment. And we keep missing the teachable moment.
Yeah, I think even though I was 33 years of age and my career finished and it was all a mess, materially homeless, it was a mess. I'm very grateful actually because my first daughter, I've got 4 kids, but my first daughter was 6 months old then. So me coming to great awakening and enlightenment, some other kids will benefit from, she's benefited from that. And my son's 4 now, and my wife knows what I'm like. And I've said from day one, the biggest battle we will have, and I'm ready to take it on with anybody, in-laws, anybody, they will suffer. And all we have to do as parents is observe the suffering. No rescue. We never rescue from the suffering. So as kids do, it's my son who's a wild spirit, which I relate to, is suffering all the way. He's going to climb that. He's going to climb that climbing frame. I'm not going to stop him because the minute I'll give you some, get off me. Cool, man. I'm sitting on the bench. And he's fallen off the bike. He stacked it on the bike, teeth and cuts, and I slowly walk over, and I've had parents come across me in the park, and I've had a group of mums once said, "This is disgusting." And I said, what are you witnessing? Well, you just let, I said, okay. So look, heartbreak's coming to her, cancer's coming to her. If 1 in 2 gets cancer, there's 6 people here. 3 of us are getting cancer. No, that's a statistic that's available for us all. How are we going to deal with that? Are we going to run? Or are we going to go, shit, I'm terrified now? And okay, we're going to use some stuff to fight that battle. But yeah, just suffering is part of pursuing things, whether it's the climbing frame or the monkey bars in the park, or I want to set my vision here at this place, I want to scale and grow this big company, or I want to be an athlete. And okay, you're going to walk into a bunch of emotional and physical suffering. So how can I just observe you going through that and be there for you? There'll be no sandwiches thrown. What I mean by that, I'm not going to throw in fake empathy. I'm going to sit with you in that moment of suffering and say, yeah, I understand everything you're going through and it's really tough. What choices do we have right now?
Yeah.
Quit, can do.
Yeah.
Or embrace it and face it and go again. So I think, I think it's a big thing I'm seeing here. The amount of athletes I've worked with who've had psychologists at the clubs or wherever they are, honestly, well into its tens, maybe over 50 athletes who they've started to share the darkness in them, the fire in them, that they'd rather die than fail. And that person sitting opposite is like, whoa, we need to get some solutions for that. Whereas I would go, me too. Let's investigate that. And where does that leave us?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd still rather die than fail. That's awesome. That means you care so deeply. That's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
How do we nurture that? What is that? And so, yeah, I think that's a different approach, I believe, or I'm told. But it certainly had some incredible results.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we always have to be careful of the unicorns, right? Like the ones who make it and then, right? Like, so these same qualities that lead to elite success
Mm,
also often have unhealthy side effects.
absolutely.
And so it's like, can you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Like
No.
sometimes you have to do this. And I think as a parent, as a coach, as the psychologist, as the advisor, right? As you know, those that drive can manifest itself, or that, the pain that you're suffering, then you mask it through booze, drugs, a million other things, right?
Full of
And
it,
that,
full of it.
and that's where you need the people around you to step in and say, okay, maybe this has crossed the line, and how can we direct, right? How can we direct? I mean, it's a hard thing. I see for those just listening, you're smiling. So I'll let you talk. Go ahead.
Well, I'm smiling. It was only yesterday. One of the coaches who works with me under my brand, he said to me, I had an interesting thing at the weekend as to what happened. He said my 17-year-old stepson took some ecstasy in a club and blacked out. And he said it was interesting watching the whole family unit just go into terror and rage and anger and how dare he. And I said, where did you go? And he said, well, luckily I had to pick him up, so I was the first one there. And I just sat him and told him, just the first thing I said was told him a couple of times I'd done the same in my golf career and got smashed in the hotel the night before and unconscious and vomiting onto the first tee. We just talked about that for about half an hour. There was no judgment of him. There was no criticism. There was nothing. It was just, wow, yeah, yeah. I experienced that too.
Hmm.
That's it. I think
Hmm.
that identification is incredible because what I see is certainly I see it with a lot of ex-athletes who had stellar playing careers here in the UK, let's say, and they retire from playing. Now they become a coach, and they buried all of their pain and suffering. So now I'm going to stand in front of this group of men and give you the secret sauce. Yeah, actually, the secret sauce is, well, guys, there was times I was doing all kinds of stuff before the game just to switch this off and be in myself and my presence.
Hmm.
And so I relate to it all. But
Hmm.
that's not a conversation that's happening. It's almost like, right, they've pulled on the head coach suit now, and I'm a different human, really.
Hmm.
So I just there's a great line, and there's a director of sport at one of the US colleges that I'm working at. I'll go back out there in a month's time, and they had said to all the staff of the different teams, we need to meet the athletes where they are. And
Hmm.
one of the coaches reached out to me and said, what do you think they mean by that? I said, well, that's incredible if they're true to their word. It means meet them where they are.
Hmm.
Angry, pissed off, depressed. All of that's okay. All of it's
Hmm.
absolutely fine, normal, human. Now, I just think that's not work that's done.
But you know what?
Um,
I think everyone says that, right? These directors of sport, and they're full of it.
yeah,
They're full of it because that's not what they want, right?
no.
And so I work with a number of universities as well, and some
Mm,
amazing coaches, and what I find is that their athletic directors, as we would call them
mm,
here in the States, say
that's it.
say we want you to win,
Mm,
right? No, and they say we want you to meet the athletes where they are. We want mental wellness. We want all
mm,
this. And then they fire you because you don't win enough.
mm,
But if you do the things as a coach sometimes that push that athlete out of their comfort zone,
mm.
right? They're on the bench. Um, they're held to a higher standard fitness wise, all these sort of things. You also can lose your job, right? And
Well,
and,
well, well,
and
well, I think we've got to be careful there. I say to all the coaches, you deserve to get fired. Let's have that really clear and out there. If you lose games, get fired.
yeah.
You deserve to get fired.
Hmm.
Um, this is about winning. Let's get that clear. This is
Hmm.
about winning. But I think winning, to quote Brenny Brown again, with a strong back and a soft heart,
Hmm.
that's different. And
Totally.
you know, I, again, we've got to be careful of this polarity. Okay, this is about meeting the athletes where they are. It's going to be nice. No. We're looking to win everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that can be done with a deep understanding of the person.
Mm-hmm.
But the winning mentality, it's essential. And creating an environment for me of healthy fear, good, healthy fear.
Yeah.
You don't play well, you're dropped.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't win games, you're sacked.
Right.
Because that's just a universal truth.
Yeah. And I,
from the janitor and the cleaner to the CEO, if you're not performing,
right.
But now, and I've sat with head coaches, and let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than bury that fear, I'm
Yeah.
not afraid. You're not
Yeah.
afraid. I wake up every day petrified. There's a bunch of
Yeah.
clients, 4 kids, a huge mortgage. If I don't do my job, every single one of my clients gets rid of me.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, absolutely
Mm-hmm.
simple. So how can I do my job successfully? And this is what I didn't know how to navigate that pressure as an athlete.
Right.
But it's not about not winning. It's absolutely
Yeah.
about
If that's how it came out, I said it wrong, because that's not what I mean at all. Like I obviously no one gets into this
not to win.
vocation not to win. No one's like, I want to go, right? So everyone wants that. Here's my experience, and again, because I live here, I probably have a lot more touch points with it, right? The coach who knows what it's going to take to win, right? And says, okay, right, our team's not fit enough in the fitness standard. We need to raise it to here. The athletes who go, yeah, not doing that, right? Not doing that. Not going to get fit, not going to meet the standard. And if you talk to me about nutrition or weight or getting fitter or not skipping weight room sessions or things like that, I'm going to report you to the athletic director or whatever. This happens every day here now, right? And again, it's finding this balance between the things that are going to make you better, that are going to help you succeed as an athlete, are also very uncomfortable. And you have to be comfortable with that, right? And I'm not saying uncomfortable in terms of relationship. I'm saying uncomfortable that it's gonna be hard, right? You're gonna have to suffer.
What I think is it's constant empathy.
Totally.
And so what I think a great responsibility on all leaders is so when your athlete is lazy, can you understand how lazy you are? And I've had this with coaches who go, non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
Work ethic. And I said, lift your top up for me. What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you got a 6-pack? Because I had a 10-pack my whole career. I don't have one. At 45 now.
Yeah.
I run 3 times a week. I'm in okay shape. There's no
Yeah.
desire to be.
Yeah.
You cannot judge anybody's laziness. Tell me about your marriage. How accountable is your marriage? Like if we want to get into accountability, so you've got to meet them where they are. Have you been lazy? Have you walked out there and said, I can't be asked today. I don't want to play. I haven't got any motivation. That's all acceptable. All of that's acceptable. Because I know I'm one of the most driven guys in the room. I'm also one of the most lazy. I'm also one of the softest of hearts. I'm all of that. So that is not discussed in coach education. It's
100%.
It's still too much non-negotiable, make the weight room. That has to be there to a point. But if you're not doing it, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I've had that with coaches who said, it's unacceptable in practice today. One of the guys who's not playing is a headlock to one of the players and thrown him to the floor. I said, yeah, I don't blame him. What do you mean? I said, well, look, man, is he in the team? No, he's out of the team. So how is he feeling? Terrified, first of all. What's he terrified of? Well, every week that he's out of the team, he's another week away from his dreams. You don't know the pressure that's coming from his parents and everything else. Like, the reaction you've seen on the field is a feeling that's neglected. Now, can you meet him there? When have you reacted like that? So this is not for the faint-hearted. This dive into emotions. It's not, and it's not easy because it requires us to see all of ourselves, all of our flaws as leaders, everything, all of our weaknesses, all of them.
100%. And that, you know, we've, I mean, God, multiple times now had this conversation with, you know, Steve Kerr, the NBA coach, who I think is a wonderful
Wow,
coach. And he
incredible.
talks about this. He says, you know, vulnerability is a huge important part of leadership, as
Mm-hmm.
is competency, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to know your stuff
Yeah.
and then be vulnerable. But one of the things, like in that situation, that I find fascinating about Steve is this great awareness, that you have to meet the players where they are. And he says, you know, as in his career, right? He won 5 championships. He goes,
That's
I
right.
rarely ever started a game in
Mm-hmm.
basketball. I always came off the bench. So as a head coach, I'm very aware of what the players on the bench are feeling, right? And trying not to let someone just rot away on the bench. You always have to be ready. You always have a chance to play. He goes, when I talk to Steph Curry, my job as a coach is to protect Steph Curry's time and his humanity and his relationship with his wife. And everyone wants something from him. He goes,
Mm-hmm.
now, and as he's getting older, my biggest thing with Steph is, how do I help a player who maybe can't perform every night on the level that he could 3, 4 years ago? How do I help him navigate that portion of his career, which is different than when he was 28, right? He goes, but that's very different than the 14th guy on the bench who's going, I'm in the last year of my contract. I
Mm-hmm.
might not get another one. What am I going to do in my life?
Let's
Right.
have a
And if I
hybrid.
look at
Yeah.
them under the same lens, I'm not coaching. And I think that's one of the great qualities
But
of a
that, but
Steve Kerr.
that, you can see that in The Last Dance, the moment with Steve Kerr. I'm just a fan of all athletes. When I
Mm-hmm.
watched that doing my role as an emotional coach, and I watched that, I saw it all. I saw the natural gift of Michael Jordan, this gift of drive, and I think that level of drive is a gift that's beyond. You can't coach that.
Mm-hmm.
But with that level of drive, naturally comes the same level of ego, and that has to. Managing that, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy because every part of you, nothing is ever enough. You're the
Mm-hmm.
addict, you're the classic addict. Nothing is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you put that on the other players if you're not careful. It's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember moments in that documentary, and there was the moment with Jordan when he really, I think, went for him, but you could see, and I really related to that moment of feeling it all as a player. And I think that's it. He then goes into coaching, but because of that natural sensitivity that he has,
Mm-hmm.
makes him an incredible coach.
Yeah.
Because but it can destroy you as well while you're a player
Yeah.
because you're sensitive. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you're any less driven or you're any less ambitious, but you're sensitive. You, I try and meet players within the first 5 minutes. I kind of got this thing now within 2 or 3 minutes. Because I can close my eyes and pull up every experience I went through. So if the player's a substitute, I might be a young player. And he's not. He's on the bench. I might go. It's tough on the bench.
Mm.
I remember sitting on there, hoping, wishing at times. Two things. One, we lose. Well, three things.
Mm-hmm.
One, we lose heavily.
Mm-hmm.
Two, the guy in my position ruptures his ACL.
Mm-hmm.
And three, the coach gets fired.
Mm-hmm.
They're my three things I'm praying for today.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me going, what the fuck? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm going, you get any of that? He's like, yeah. I said, not safe to say that though, are you?
Mm-hmm.
He said, no, I would never say that. I said, well, this is important.
Mm-hmm.
All the coaches I played for, even the Motomex players, they denied all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, you never felt that.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can't think like that.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so shame, Brenny Brown, the shame cycle would start. Well, now I'm ashamed because
Mm-hmm.
I must have serious issues to wish three things. The guy in my position ruptures his ACL, we lose heavily, and the coach gets fired. I must have serious issues.
Right.
Today, I just put that under the bracket of, well, you're a very competitive individual.
Yeah.
What a wonderful gift. Now,
Yeah.
we have to upskill you quickly on how to manage that beast within you. Otherwise, it will destroy everything in your life.
Right. Right.
But that space is not available. in my experience, that's not available to most athletes I've ever met. Still not today.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? And do you think, well, I know you believe that, you're, so there's this big movement in developing healthier, right, more, individuals whose whole identity isn't tied in this. And you obviously see it and are well aware of the kids who get released at 16 or 19 and just fall off the wagon, right? That their lives are, can we and should we be doing more for them when they're younger? And what would that be? When we have a business that only 1% are going to make it, is it our job to better serve the other 99%?
So I go straight to, in England, I go straight to, well, the reason 1% make it, because there's nothing emotional, there's no emotional conditioning, loads of physical conditioning, loads of technical conditioning, loads of tactical conditioning, no emotional conditioning from the age of 6 to, let's say, 18, 16, whatever that is. None.
Yeah.
Your identity, a massive part of your identity, has to be attached to what you are. Again, the movement that I think of throwing the sandwich down the hole, quoting Penny Brown, and oh yeah, you don't want all that identity connected to, yeah, you do. You want to, because when you go to sleep at night and you're looking at the ceiling, the thought of not making it, you sometimes would rather die. That's perfect. Now, can we be enlightened as leaders to go, that's perfect? Now, that's going to be dangerous, because everything you do, nothing will be enough. But that's drive. Now we have to emotionally give you the skills to let go, to surrender, to accept, to powerlessness. Can you wake up every day and go, I've got no power? People aren't talking about that. It's all about more power, more. But I can have that conversation with anybody, because I ran that as hard as anybody I've ever known. I know a lot of athletes. I ran it to an obsessive level, where if resting heart rate, if I max lift this in the gym, if I did it, tick, 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 signs on my kitchen cupboards of everything I've done today, everything I've eaten, protein versus carbs, it's fucking worthless.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, what I really needed was the skills to manage this burning desire. And that isn't going on, and I think that reflects the 1%. I think that 1% could easily jump up to 10 straight off the bat, easily, if the right conditioning. Because for 12 years, I've worked in the shadows, and now with two clubs in the UK here, and I went out and did the camp with the US national team in April in Phoenix Soccer, men's soccer team, and I presented to the whole group on fear, and the head coach, Anthony Hudson, at that time said, how do you want to do it over this week? Do you want to have time with the guys? I said, no, I don't want any time with the guys. I'm going to deliver, and those guys, my number will go in the players' WhatsApp groups with the staff, whatever. If there was any value in anything I said in that 45 minutes, they can reach out to me, and we can have time in the hotel. Do not force me on anyone. Because every time I was a player, have time with this guy. Fucking come on, man. They don't want that. I have to perform in that 45 minutes. I have to have said something that smashes their ego straight to the floor. And I've been doing this long enough now. Within 2 or 3 minutes, you can see eyes go from here, and all of a sudden, the eyes are locked into you. That's connection. Well, what are you connecting?
Yeah.
I'm connecting with your truth. And my truth is all of this shit. I'm terrified. Don't feel good enough. Scared of this. Inadequate. Replace me. All of this stuff. So, and without doubt, in that particular camp, a dozen guys came and spoke to me, related to everything I said, and have not had an opportunity to date to talk about any of that stuff. And some of them have said to me, the psychs that they've been working with, it was very much sandwiched down the hole. We need to give you, what you need to do out on the pitch is just let go. Well, how the fuck do I do that? But that was my question. Paying psychs $700 an hour in England. How do I do that? Well, your identity doesn't want to be tied up in that, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
I never found the one going perfect, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think the great responsibility we have as any leaders, whether it's a father, a CEO, football coach, whatever it is how quickly can we build identification with the player? Like
Mm-hmm.
last night on my leadership course, and 15 business owners, baseball coach from America, 2 football coaches, your football, NFL stuff, and they're not NFL college guys. And one of the guest speakers I had was an old client of mine who's played 12 years at Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson signed him for £20 million when he was 19.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 32. And the coaches said, what do you played in front of 85,000 fans every week, the cauldron of Old Trafford, I mean, theatre of dreams you played. What did you need to hear from a coach? What did you need? And he just said identification.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, rather than, how you feeling today? You up for the game?
Mm-hmm.
No, not really. The last thing I want to do is fucking play, to be honest. I'm fucking terrified.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's our responsibility to realise, well, he's probably already terrified because I was.
Mm-hmm.
So as I come up next to him, you must be fucking terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, boss. Well, man, come on, let's get real here. You've not played well for 5 weeks. Everyone's on you. The media are going to nail you. I remember that's a horrible place, man. I drowned under that a few times. All of a sudden, the players completely. I mean,
And it's worse today with social media. I mean, it's amplified, right?
Phil talked about that. 12 years at Manchester United. I mean, that is a cauldron. That club is followed in the UK. I mean, every column inch and every paper is written on everything those players do.
Yeah.
He carried that for 12 years.
Yeah.
And he shared a little bit about the work we did in the last 2-3 years of his career. And, he shared it because the coach said, well, what did you need to hear before the game? And I said, tell him the story So he said, well, I've been out of the team for 2 years, I've got bone on my knee, no cartilage left, but he's tough, so he's playing with no cartilage on it.
Yeah.
And he said, I've gone mentally, but I brought myself back. And I rang Drewe and said, look, I'm in the team tonight, I'm playing, 80,000 fans, whatever it was, and left me a voice note on WhatsApp. And, do you want to come to the game? I'll leave a ticket in the box, and I'm feeling good, looking forward to the game. And I was at the park with the kids, and they were on and I had one headphone in listening as I was watching my kids. I'm thinking, you're looking forward to the game? What the hell are you talking about? So I sat with it for about 40 minutes and going, shit, I probably only got about an hour and a half before his phone goes off. He'll be in the hotel now, having some pre-match food, then he'll be on the coach into the stadium. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to leave him the truth. And I thought, I'm going to do it. So I left him a voice note, said, look, just to touch base, man, I don't relate to the thing you've just said, right? If I'm where you are, this is the truth. No one wants you in the team. The CEO's told your agent, move you on, you'll never play again. Last time you played, you were mocked for weeks on social media. There was a meme made about you that you can use on WhatsApp. You're a laughing stock right now. You've got no skin in the game. No one rates you. 8, 9 things in, 10 things in. But have you been there before 350 times? Have you played for your country 50 times? Are you an outstanding player above and beyond? Look, I would suggest pre-game, you go and sit in a toilet cubicle, you shut the fucking door and you sit there with those 10 things. And you go, they can all destroy me today. I only have one thing on the pitch, and that's courage. And I said, I just want you to measure yourself on courage. Courage to give the ball away. Courage to get mocked by the fans. Put your hand up and go, fuck you. And go again and again. Measure on courage. That's it. He was man of the match. He was crying. He's a favourite. You can find it online. He's coming off the pitch. Fans, standing ovation. And what the coach went, shit, that's the complete opposite of everything you'd be taught. I said, yeah. It's like positive mindset.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think one of the most damaging things that we do when someone feels fear or any of that is say, ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist, wash it away, positive. Like, it's like, no, like you said, but you said before, it means that you care. It means that you're deeply invested. You're playing in front of 85,000 people. You're supposed to be scared, right? The guy with the 3-foot putt to win the Masters, is also crapping his pants,
Well,
right?
Tiger Woods did a reel the other day. He's doing a lot more brilliant stuff. Tiger, I don't know, because maybe his age is coming out now. And it was brilliant. It was a 40-second reel I saw, and I grabbed it and he used it and got a bunch of guys. And it was, did you ever get nervous? And he was in his chair like this and he just laughed. He sat back and said, "Are you joking me?" The guy went, "No." He
Yeah.
goes, "Every shot,
Yeah.
every round, every hole, every day."
Yeah.
He said, "Absolutely." He said, "Well, what's not to be nervous about?"
Yeah.
But you could almost see the interviewer. It was the complete opposite answer, which I don't blame him. The typical answer would be, "No, I'm Tiger Woods. I don't feel that." No,
Right.
that's why I'm Tiger Woods, because I
Exactly.
step into that fire every single day. I don't look
Exactly.
for a backup plan. There's no sandwiches coming down the hole. My identity is I'm a world-class golfer.
Hmm.
It's part of my very DNA.
Hmm.
Great.
And golf is the most fascinating sport because,
I've worked in it with 2 or 3 tour players. I've been right in the front line of that. It's probably, I think, the toughest game there is.
well, yeah, because what other game do you lose so often, even if you're good,
And,
right?
and, and, and my big thing in sport is there's far too much technical information. I think one of the biggest causes of mental health issues now is sports science and the growth of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because the more data people believe, the more data, the less chance we have of that pain of losing. So let's collect it. Get all the scientists. Let's collect everything.
Hmm. Well, because it's easy to measure, right? And so we can measure all this. So we go, oh, look at the value I'm giving with all these measurements versus everything that we've talked about, um, fear, anxiety, stress, connection, caring, love is really hard to measure, but that those are the things, right? And this is, I think, the biggest issue in coaching, right? Is when I work with coaches and I ask them to list the qualities of the best coaches they ever had, 90% of the things that come up never
How
appear
they
in
make you
any
feel?
they're never in any coaching course ever.
No, no.
Right. And so how do we bridge that gap? How do we better
Well,
educate
it's
coaches?
like it's like every gap, Johnny. It's education. I wrote my course 3 years ago, and it's by the grace of God, it's gone incredibly well. Our union here, the Professional Footballers Association, once you've been a pro, you're a member for life. They approached me. They've written a new degree in emotional intelligence and football leadership, and
Hmm.
with the sports psychologist at Chelsea,
Hmm.
Liverpool, and myself, we put this
Hmm.
together. But I mean, if you look at my modules, in my 8-week modules, module
Hmm.
one is fear and control,
Hmm.
module two is ego, the silent killer,
Yeah.
module three is toxic shame,
Hmm.
module four is trust and belief.
Right.
No one's talking about shame, toxic shame. We're here to win football games. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
You don't know shit if you're shame. If you've not dealt with the shame,
Right.
you, there's no healing there.
Yeah.
And I know that as a recovered addict. You, you know, addiction is just a painkiller. I mean,
Hmm.
for what? The shame. Because I allowed a finger to come in my face. You're too aggressive. You care too much. You overthink. You did. Well, all
Hmm.
those "you are" statements. By the end of 15, you are. Well, who am I under all that?
Right. Right.
I've already had it. I shared the other night on my leadership course. My 4-year-old son's just going from nursery to his first school, and the lady stopped me at the gate. She went, "We do this thing. Like, it's a bit crazy with 4, but a quick synopsis report on them that we give to the new teacher. So they've got a rough idea of the child." I said, "Yeah, great. Take it home." I'm sitting with that over a coffee. I'm like, "Fuck it, what the fuck?" I mean, it's a couple of great things, like he's creative and incredible storyteller, great, all that. Um, Personal development. He needs to learn that winning's not that important. The next one is, well, frankly, yeah, to him it is. The
Hmm.
next one is he needs to learn how to control his emotions when he doesn't get his way.
Hmm.
Because his thing is to push the kid off the slide or whack him. That's okay as well. So I looked at that and thought, all of that you're saying he needs to work on that and be careful of this. Well,
Hmm.
I just see in him exactly what I was.
Hmm.
He's 4. There's no the ego doesn't even start developing between 3, 4. It's the I want stage and the no
Right.
stage of the
Everything's
child,
self-centered. Everything's me. Yeah.
which is perfect. So I just see this. I mean, he gets absolutely, if he doesn't feel like he's winning, the whole house gets wrecked.
Well, you know what's interesting? I don't know if you ever cross paths with there's a book called Boys Adrift. And
Okay.
it was basically an advocacy for in elementary education, you really should have boys and girls separate because of this and because of this idea. And I read this because I have a daughter and a son, and I'm like, wow, they're really different, right? And
They are, yeah.
um, and so this guy Leonard Sachs wrote the book. He talks about how, you know, number one, in elementary school, most teachers are females, and so they approach it from this perspective of, okay, kid took your place in the slide. What does a boy do? Well, what am I going to do? And the female approach in general is, how does that make you feel? And the boy's like, I don't care how I feel. This is, yeah, exactly. This is what I'm going to do. But we don't teach those teachers to understand that, right? This is just the way that boys at 5 years old and 6 years old are, right? Then you take things like brain development in males, where they, the part of the brain that you use to read.
Do you know what you just triggered in me there? You're right. I love this. Boys Adrift. I mean, the title says everything. You cut adrift quickly, but
Yeah.
I think of all the men I've coached now, well into the hundreds, in their 40s, 50s, CEO,
Hmm.
whatever. Like, do you know where I go now as a go-to at the start of my coaching sessions with got older men? Are you married? And
Hmm.
they'll be like, yeah, I'm married. How's that going? Well, that's not why I'm here. I'm here for my performance. I'm not looking
Yeah,
for
yeah,
your performance. I said, how's that going? Because
yeah.
I'm divorced, second marriage now. We've got a really good marriage. And someone said to me earlier, like, I said, yeah, we've got a really good marriage. I would say, I might be wrong. um,
That's
he
50% of
said,
the opinion.
50%. He said, what do you think that is? I said, well, we've been together 10 years and it's 7 years of war. And I didn't lose that battle. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I am that I am. So when I heard you're selfish, I went, absolutely. And I
Hmm.
smiled. I said, at 8 years of age, there's only one thing I'm doing. I'm going to be a footballer.
Hmm.
Nothing else will stop me. I'm all in.
Hmm.
Most selfish kid in the room. I'm getting there.
Hmm.
What, you want that to go? No, no, no. I'm unbelievably selfish. Um, so when the things started coming in my marriage, yeah, all of those things.
Hmm.
I don't go out drinking. I
Hmm.
don't go to bars and clubs.
Hmm.
Don't ever play golf at the weekend. That's for family.
Hmm.
Like, I'm all in, but I'm away 3 nights a week. I'm working hard. I'm selfish. Yeah, yeah. And that's all for us.
Hmm.
And if that's not acceptable for you, there's the door. Off you go.
Hmm.
Now, I'd suffered a lot. So by the time I got to my second marriage, I'm pretty whole as a man.
Hmm.
But the amount of men I see hand their power away inside their relationships,
Hmm.
off the scale. And then wonder why it's not happening in the business or it's athlete. Well, hang on a minute. Well, you, every time you allow someone to shame you or make you second guess selfish. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
I'm selfish. I must have a real issue. No, no, no.
Hmm.
Every time your head, you go another yard back, another
Hmm.
yard back. Well, how are you going to find your highest level when you?
Mm.
So
How,
I
I
think
mean,
it's constant growth.
would you have ever gotten to that place without rehab, without therapy, without
Suffering.
third party?
No, that was
The
my
place of
journey.
self-awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'd say no because that was my journey. But absolutely, when I wrote my course, it was like I really believe, and I know it's a fact because 3 years of doing this now and 180 people through it.
Hmm.
Well, there's been at least a dozen men in that course walk out on the marriage or could start to through the course start to go, whoa,
Hmm.
I've been hiding for 10 years here. I
Right.
mean, I've come here to improve my coaching because I need to win games. But shit, well, all of a sudden now the wife doesn't like this.
But your course is a mirror for people that they're forced to look in.
Yeah, because when I put it together, I was just asked by a friend who was a head coach here, you should create something to help us as coaches because you're doing it all privately. I said, I don't know, I don't know what I could create. I just very much ad lib and no, there'll be a structure to what you do. There's no structure. I thought, yeah, there is. And
Mm-hmm.
it has to be a mirror. All I
Mm-hmm.
want around me is mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
I want absolute accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I love my wife to bits because she is tough, and there is times where my selfishness probably oversteps the mark.
Mm-hmm.
And without her nailing me, I'm not going to come back 10%. But I used to go back 90%.
Right, 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 right. Yeah.
But I need to come back 10%.
And this, so this all revolves, and anyone who's watching this on YouTube sees your shirt that says "Healthy Disrespect." And if anyone follows your work, we can't leave today without talking about that. So define that for people, and what that means. I mean,
It
we've
was
kind of
something.
talked about it, but without using the word
Yeah,
yet.
I think it was something that's just, it was a couple of things that have come to me in my journey of coaching. This was something that came to me. I found I was talking a lot about self-respect with people because oftentimes performance has gone and self-respect has gone, self-esteem has gone, the self
Mm-hmm.
has gone. So it's like, well, we need to rediscover the self.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've rediscovered the self that's
Mm-hmm.
been shamed, lost, and judged, and now you need to ring fence that with an iron fence. No one gets in there
Mm-hmm.
unless they've got the key. What's the key? They have to get buy-in from you.
Yeah.
Don't hand that away to anybody. That is you. You don't
Mm-hmm.
hand that away. So once you get a huge, once you know yourself or you've rediscovered yourself, stick a ring fence around that, and then you've got to be healthily disrespectful. So if you've got a coach going, you need to do this, you're not listening, no problem, won't be listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, you're selfish, appreciate you, won't be listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're never being rude to people. You know, I bring my kids up, I want them to be respectful human beings, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't, not the price of themselves ever.
Right. And
So
how do you know? I mean, who gives you the, I'm not even sure how to ask this question, right? Because having that sense, I couldn't agree more, right? That know yourself is the most important thing, right? As an athlete, as a coach, as a leader, like, to be better at that, be better you, right? And be okay with that and know yourself. But it also doesn't mean that you're always right.
you are always right.
You think so?
Your
How so?
instinct, you,
Oh,
my
instinct. Okay.
instincts, they can't ever be wrong because they're your sixth sense. They're your sixth sense, but I think they get shamed out, they get judged out, they get pushed away. Like you said, if you've got a strong female energy around a strong male, you can start to second guess yourself as the male. You go, well,
Mm-hmm.
I've got four energies here saying I'm wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
your instincts,
Mm-hmm.
they're never wrong. They're never wrong because it's the very core of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
The scene out of Last Dance, every time it went to Michael Jordan, he's sitting there in his palatial home and he's sitting there with a whiskey and a cigar. That was a poignant moment because, and there was the moment where the camera's broken. He started to tear up,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "It's hard."
Yeah.
And I thought, what was hard was you never sold out on who you were. You
Mm-hmm.
never, because if there had been a million players as talented, it didn't guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't the first pick in the draft. I mean, Tom Brady the same, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
but they hung on to their sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
everyone else would call it ego, arrogant, rude. It all comes everywhere from all the
yeah,
people who've lost themselves and fit.
yeah.
Yeah. But every top athlete that I've seen, the younger ones that I've had the privilege to work with, they know themselves.
Right.
And a lot of that is the parenting of the Richard Williams figure with Serena and Venus, Earl Woods with Tiger. I look at Williams and Earl Woods. I think they're the two best coaches I've ever lived personally.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Mm-hmm.
created three black athletes who've revolutionised the white game in both their games, tennis and
Golf. Yeah. Yeah.
that alone is incredible.
Yeah.
They've got no playing history, the
Yeah.
parents. So what you look at that and go, what did they give their kids? Because nature, and the kids have a certain nature, I understand that, but the nurture,
Mm-hmm.
self. In the
Mm-hmm.
film with Richard Williams, King Richard, the moment where the kids pull up at the court and start abusing the father, and the girls are in the car behind the glasses. Richard Williams is taking a beating on the ground.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What,
The gang
what
guys. Yeah.
message is he giving his daughters? You don't ever back down. You
Yeah.
stand your ground.
Yeah.
So in the heat of battle, whether it's in the US Open or Wimbledon, what do they do in centre court? They don't
Yeah.
back down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Novak Djokovic's experience was the same with his father.
Yeah.
So
What
this sense of self, Djokovic, I think Novak Djokovic is an incredible example of that.
I think, because I know, following your work, like Pep Guardiola is a coach that you have a lot of respect for.
How can you
So
not?
so here, no, exactly. And I do too. I've gotten to watch him work. He's unbelievable, right? And so but here's a perfect example, right? So Pep has this great sense of self and how I'm going to do things, becomes the coach of Barcelona, no high level experience. First press conference, he says Ronaldinho's out,
Yeah.
Eto's out, Deco's out. We're bringing in the new guys, right? Now, Ronaldinho's sense of self in that moment, World Player of the Year, just won the World Cup. I'm going to the clubs every night. Pep Guardiola comes in as the coach and says, that's not going to work here, right? So, two individuals with a great sense of self, two brilliant, brilliant, right? At the top of everything. So sometimes there's going to be conflict as well. Um,
Always.
and
Constant conflict.
constant conflict. Yeah.
I think to be the best version of ourselves, it's constant conflict
Mm,
because we're
mm,
bringing ourselves constantly, and there's 8, 12, whatever billion human beings. Well, that
mm-hmm.
means you've got an opinion, I've got an opinion. I see it this way, you see it this way.
Yeah.
Now we can disagree, but I'm not going to back down off what I see.
Right. Right. And you have to recognize that, in those moments that that might be the end of my job, my whatever, right? And I'm okay with that, right?
Have to
And
be.
so, yeah, yeah, exactly. I do think though, like how do we manage, and we're really coming towards the end of our time here, and I want to be respectful of your time. How do we manage that of I need my sense of self, but certainly in soccer, in football, it's a team game. How do I be part of the team within that, right? I have to give to the team. I can't say, I'm not gonna press today. I don't feel like it.
Coach better get the buy-in.
Right. Okay. So that starts with the coach. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
so if you say his ego's big, well, how big's yours? Can you
Yeah.
meet him in his ego? Can you meet his ego where your ego was?
Right.
Look, I had that ability to be in every team I ever played. I had the ability to be the number one player in every team I played. Never
Hmm.
knew how to manage any of that. Never had a coach come to me. You see when you're waving your hands at the players and go, "I'm not making that fucking run for you. Fuck you." You know when you do that?
Yeah.
Fuck, I used to do. I've been there a million times now,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
love that because when you slightly leak into that, it's ugly. It
Yeah.
is ugly, and there's a better way.
Yeah.
But I just want to tell you, first of all, I've got no issue with it. I completely relate to it.
Right.
But I need you to help me.
Yeah.
As the coach, I need you to help me. I need to win games. You're
Yeah.
huge for me. How can I serve you?
Yeah.
Servant leadership,
Yeah.
absolute humility. I'm not the coach. Drop that bullshit.
Yeah.
You need them. They don't need you. They'll sack you. You get fired in a minute. They're all under contract. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Drop your ego and serve them. Now, I've had it with coaches. Some people you can't turn around.
Right.
Some players, even that's not going to work. Then move them on quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pay
Yeah.
them the most money that get them out of their contract
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah. And that's the balance. That's the art, right? Of like,
I think
and
so.
and I think every coach can say, how many of those guys can I have in my team and how special are they? Right. I think I heard Stuart Pearce talking about this once. It's like, you have
But
the
Stuart Pearce is not emotionally available. There's no emotional understanding
no,
of
no,
anything.
yeah, I would agree.
He's like every other player in the UK. I look at Stuart. I hear Stuart Pearce. Yeah, hell of a player.
Yeah, yeah.
But what are you talking about? I mean, he
Right.
was the first one after when when City won the Champions League and Grealish was out drinking
Oh,
for two
yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He comes straight on the main TV. I'll be honest with you. I think it's disgraceful. I
Yeah.
think he should have gone straight with England, no drink for a week, and what the fuck are you talking about? Pep
Yeah.
Guardiola didn't have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's why Pep Guardiola's a top coach and you got sacked from every job. That's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
But
it's all just
what I was going to say is this idea of, right, you have everyone wants the high impact, low maintenance player. That's easy, right? And
where are they?
well, where are they? Yeah, there's a few, but right
Where are they?
there's the low. Well, I mean, I think um Steve Kerr would say Steph Curry is. And he
Okay.
also said Tim Duncan was, right? He said best
Okay.
guy I ever played with. Super low maintenance, incredible player. They're there. They're very rare,
Very
right?
rare.
It's at the top level of coaching is the high impact, high maintenance, right? Someone who can change everything for you, but they take a lot of work. And it's how can I work with them? How can I get them to buy in? And how can
And I have to meet them
I
where
have
they
to meet them
are.
where they are. Yeah.
And that cannot be a statement left on the wall. And what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
If they're being arrogant, can I meet them with my arrogance? If they're in
Mm-hmm.
their ego, can I meet them with my ego?
Mm-hmm.
If they're being lazy, am I lazy? You know,
Yeah.
we have to look at ourselves and it becomes, we can have a joke with them then.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
walk past that big guy and be like, fuck, man, don't you love it when you literally, and you can sit and go, don't you love it when you literally want to see all your teammates fail? Do you
Mm-hmm.
love that? And they're like, I've done it with guys, and they're like, what the fuck? And I'm like, you ever felt that?
Mm-hmm.
And they just figure out if they're safe, and they're like, yeah, look, I just need to be the main man. No,
Yeah.
of course you do. I get all of that, but
Yeah.
and then you've got some buy-in then because you've humbled yourself and you've met
Mm-hmm.
them where they. Now can you lead them down a path to a better way?
Yeah. And if you give this little bit, it's not just good for them and for us, it's
Oh,
also good for you.
changes everything.
Yeah, it
Changes
changes everything.
everything.
Brilliant. Awesome.
But
Well, Drew.
but it's really deep self-introspection, and there's all these buzzwords around high performance, emotional intelligence. I mean, I look at this company I work at in London. The owner just got tired of it when he
Mm-hmm.
reached out to me. Tired, 10, 11 corporate coaches first come in here, and he said, "I saw your stuff, and it just used to punch me in the face every day on LinkedIn. Like what?" And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, he said, I'm just tired of these 10 steps to leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability, accountability. I'm looking at the guy thinking, well, you're not vulnerable, and you're not accountable either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have a belly hanging over your belt if you're that accountable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you are, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about here? How
Mm-hmm.
much accountability?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got 400 jobs depending on me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I have to stay fit in the gym, and I have to, because I have to be in my absolute best energy
Mm-hmm.
to steer this ship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not perfect, and it doesn't mean there's no escapisms going on, but
Yeah.
you know, come on, like I just think there's all these buzzwords around that when we actually dive into what will that take from us, it'll take everything.
Mm-hmm.
Take everything to be that accountable. It's brutal.
Yeah.
What's the other way?
Yeah. Yeah. Drew, how can people best connect with you, follow your work? Where can they find you?
I think usual places, LinkedIn and Instagram. I think I don't do the Instagram stuff. The guys do that for me, but the LinkedIn, I'm very passionate. I create all my own content for LinkedIn. I'm very passionate about that. I
Yeah.
think I came in social media at the age of 40. I didn't want anything to do with it. I was busy working under the shadows, but
Mm-hmm.
people said to me, you could help people. I'm like, yeah, but I'm helping people. They said, yeah, for your own bank balance. Like, what do you give back some stuff? I'm like, yeah, actually, that really hit me hard. And I thought, because I always had social media as this horrendous place. I don't want to be anywhere near there.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it's been a powerful tool. I'm grateful for it.
I mean, and like anything, it used the right way is a powerful
Yeah,
tool, and used the wrong way, it's a horrible thing. And
absolutely.
yeah, and I definitely think that I see the comments on your LinkedIn page, and I know you've helped people, and it's why I wanted to get you on the podcast. And I truly appreciate you being on, because this was a really fun discussion. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks so much for your time. Thank you.